Have you ever felt like you're being used, like you're giving so much more than you're getting back? It's a sinking feeling that many of us grapple with, often more times than we'd like to admit. It's that gnawing suspicion that we're not quite getting the respect or reciprocation we deserve. And that's what we're delving into today. The telltale signs that someone might be taking advantage of you. Well, you're not alone. Many people experience this feeling, and today, we're going to talk about the signs that you're being used. Before we dive deeper into today's topic, we wanted to take a moment to say hello to all our viewers out there. Your support means the world to us and enables us to continue creating content like this. If you find our videos helpful or interesting, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. This small action can make a big difference in helping our videos reach more people who might need this information. And if you think someone you know could benefit from our content, please feel free to share our videos with them. Lastly, if you haven't already, we would appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button. This will ensure you won't miss out on our upcoming content, and it helps us to reach a wider audience. Thank you for your continued support. It truly means the world to us. Now, let's get back to the topic at hand. We're discussing the signs you're being used. The first sign that you're being used is that you're always the one reaching out. Relationships, whether they're friendships or romantic, are a two-way street. It should be a balanced interaction, a give and take between two individuals. But what if you find yourself always on the giving end? If you're always the one initiating the conversations, planning the get-togethers, or simply extending the olive branch, it's time to take a step back and assess the situation. Imagine a scale where one side represents you and the other represents the other person. If you're always the one adding weight to your side, the scale tips, it's unbalanced. And that's not how healthy relationships work. You see, when someone truly values your presence in their life, they'll make an effort to reach out to you, to include you in their plans, to share their thoughts and feelings with you. You won't feel like you're the only one keeping the connection alive, but if you're always the one extending your hand first, if you're always the one dialing their number or hitting send on that text message, there's a good chance that you're being used. It might not be intentional, it might not be malicious, but it's still not fair to you. You deserve to be in a relationship where effort is reciprocated, where you're valued as much as you value them. So if you find that you're always the one making the effort, it might be time to reconsider the relationship. The second sign to watch out for is if they only contact you when they need something. Let's take a closer look at this. It's not uncommon for friends to reach out to each other when they need help. After all, isn't that what friends are for? But there's a fine line between being a supportive friend and being taken advantage of. The key is balance. If the only time you hear from this person is when they need a favor, a ride, or someone to vent to, it might be a sign that you're being used. Imagine this. Your phone lights up. You see their name and you're excited thinking maybe they just want to catch up, or maybe they're inviting you to hang out. But no, they need something. Again, it's like you're their personal problem solver, their go-to person when things go wrong. But where are they when you need them? Where are they when things are going right? This can be a hard pill to swallow, especially if you care about this person. But it's important to remember that relationships, including friendships, should be reciprocal. It's about give and take. It's about being there for each other. Not just one person always being there for the other. If you're constantly giving and they're constantly taking, that's not a friendship, that's a user. Remember, a true friend is there for you, not just for what you can do for them. Scene script. Another sign that you're being used is if they don't respect your time. Now let's talk about respect, specifically respect for your time. Time is one of the most valuable resources we have. It's finite, non-renewable, and everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. So when someone repeatedly disregards your time, it's a clear sign that they might be using you. Imagine this, you've set a date to catch up with a friend, but without fail, they cancel last minute, leaving you hanging, or they show up late. And not just a few minutes late, we're talking an hour or two. That's not just inconsiderate, it's downright disrespectful. Such behavior shows a lack of regard for your time, your plans, and your life. It's as if they believe their time is more important than yours, and that's a big red flag. They're essentially saying, my needs come first and yours are secondary, without uttering a single word. Now, we're not saying that people can't be late or need to reschedule. Life happens and sometimes it's unavoidable. But when it becomes a pattern, it's something you shouldn't ignore. Remember, someone who genuinely cares about you will show it by respecting your time. They'll make an effort to be punctual, to keep their commitments, and to value the time you spend together. If someone truly values you, they'll respect your time as much as their own. The fourth sign that you're being used is if they're not there when you need them. An important part of any relationship, whether it's friendship, family, or romantic, is the ability to rely on the other person when you need them. This doesn't necessarily mean they have to be your superhero swooping in to save the day every time you face a challenge. It's more about emotional support, being a listening ear, and offering comfort when you're going through a tough time. However, if you find that the person is consistently absent or unavailable whenever you're in need of support, it's a glaring red flag. Perhaps they're always too busy, or they have a habit of disappearing just when you need them the most. Maybe they're great at making promises, but when it's time to deliver, they're nowhere to be found. This kind of behavior is a clear sign that they're using you. They're happy to take from you, to lean on you when they need help, but they're not so keen on returning the favor. They're there for the good times, for the benefits they can reap from your relationship, but they're conspicuously absent when you're in need. In the end, remember that a relationship should be a two-way street, not a one-way road. If you're constantly giving and they're constantly taking, it's not a healthy dynamic, and it's certainly not fair to you. A relationship should be a two-way street, not a one-way road. The final sign we're discussing today is if you feel drained and unappreciated in the relationship. This is a red flag that should not be ignored. You might be in a relationship where you're always giving, always sacrificing, and always compromising, but you're not receiving the same in return. Now, it's not a tit-for-tat game where you're keeping score, but there should be a balance. If you're constantly on the giving end, it's only natural that you'd feel drained. You're investing your time, your energy, and your resources, but what are you getting in return? If the answer to that question is next to nothing, then it's a clear indication that you're being used. And then there's the feeling of being unappreciated. You go out of your way to do things for this person, to make them happy, to support them, but do they acknowledge your efforts? Do they show gratitude? Do they make you feel valued? If the answer is no, then it's time to reconsider the relationship. Being in a relationship where you're constantly feeling drained and unappreciated can take a heavy toll on your emotional and mental well-being. It's not healthy, and it's not something you should tolerate. You should be in a relationship where you're valued, where your efforts are recognized, where you're appreciated. Always remember, you deserve to be appreciated and valued just as much as you appreciate and value others. So, those were the 5 signs that you're being used. It's essential to reflect upon these signs and understand their significance. Relationships, whether they're friendships, romantic engagements, or even professional liaisons, should be based on mutual respect and understanding. Let's take a moment to recap. The first sign is if you're always the one reaching out. Relationships are a two-way street. If it feels like you're doing all the heavy lifting, it's time to reconsider the balance of your interactions. The second sign is if they only contact you when they need something. This is a telltale sign of a one-sided relationship. True friends are there for each other, not just when they need a favor. The third sign is if they don't respect your time. Time is precious, and anyone who values you will respect yours. If they're consistently late, cancel plans last minute, or don't appreciate the time you give them, it's a clear indication they're taking you for granted. The fourth sign is if they're not there when you need them. A strong relationship is built on mutual support. If they're constantly unavailable when you need them, it's worth asking if they truly value your relationship. Lastly, the fifth sign is if you feel drained and unappreciated. This is perhaps the most personal and subjective sign. Your feelings matter. If being around them leaves you feeling exhausted, unappreciated, or undervalued, it's a sign you're being used. These signs are not definitive proof, but they are strong indicators. It's crucial to communicate your feelings and concerns with the other person. They may be unaware of their actions, or they may be unwilling to change. Either way, it's important to stand up for yourself and ensure you're being treated fairly. Remember, it's okay to set boundaries and prioritize your own well-being. You deserve to be treated with respect and kindness.